Chapter 1, Undertall No More. My name is Ethan Reed, and at 5 feet 2 inches I was not short. I was undertall. That's what I told myself every time someone ruffled my hair like I was a child or bent down to pat my head at the office. Like I was the office puppy instead of a grown man with a business degree. Ah, you're so cute when you get angry. My coworker Sophie had the gall to say last week when I was arguing about a misfiled report. Cute. Not right. Not good point. Cute. Do you know how it feels to be passionately defending your logic only to be treated like a toddler throwing a tantrum? Feels like hell in a cardigan. Don't get me wrong. Some people like being cute. Some people thrive on being small and precious. Me? I wanted to be taken seriously. I wanted to be tall enough to look down on people for once in my life. Just once. I wanted to walk into a room and have people straighten in their chairs instead of reaching out to ruffle my hair like I was a mascot. But fate had jokes. That night, after another long day of, "Ethan, you're adorable. Can you even reach the printer tray?" I stumbled home, collapsed on my bed, and shouted at the ceiling. If I were tall, people would take me seriously. The ceiling fan creaked like it was mocking me. Tall, built, intimidating. That's all I ask. Is that too much for one man who's been stuck at eye level with people's armpits his entire life? I fell asleep mid-rant, fully clothed, socks still on. And then, I woke up somewhere that was definitely not my cramped apartment. First clue. The sheets were silk. Actual silk, not the cheap polyester kind that pretends to be silk but feels like plastic wrap. Second clue. The ceiling wasn't low and yellowed with age. It was high, white, pristine, and sporting a chandelier that looked like it could pay off my student loans. Third clue. When I rolled over, I did not roll off the bed. The thing was so big I could have done 5 cartwheels and still not hit the edge. What the? My voice came out deeper, thicker, like it had smoked cigars and negotiated hostile takeovers. I sat up and froze. My arms. These were not my arms. My arms were thin, barely muscled. The kind of arms that screamed, "This man struggles with pickle jars." These arms, veins, muscle. I scrambled to the mirror across the room. Except, oh, I didn't need to scramble. My legs were longer. My stride was different. The floor seemed farther away than usual. Then I looked in the mirror, and I screamed, because staring back at me was not Ethan Reed, undertall office mascot. No, this was someone else. 6'3", broad-shouldered, sharp-jawed, every inch of him a ruthlessio. Literally, I recognized the face. I'd seen him before in business magazines on news articles. The kind of man people called the Wolf of Wall Street, but hotter. Cold, ruthless, terrifying. Ethan Reed. Same name as mine. Different league entirely. Oh my God. I touched my jaw. Square. Sharp. The kind of jawline you could open envelopes with. I flexed my bicep. It bulged. My arm bulged. I glanced down at my chest. Pec muscles. Actual pecs. Not a hint of definition if the lighting was right. Real pecs. I staggered back from the mirror, clutching my face. Wait, I can see the top of the fridge. I spun around. The kitchen was behind me, sleek and modern, and the top of the stainless steel fridge was visible without me tiptoeing. Is this what gods feel like? I laughed, loud and unhinged. Then I ran to the window and yanked open the curtains. A city skyline sprawled beneath me. Penthouse view. This isn't real. This is a dream. A nightmare. A fanfiction. I pinched myself. Hard. The skin was firm, tanned, smooth. It hurt. Not a dream. I looked back at the mirror. A tall, terrifying man looked back. But behind his sharp features, his steel gray eyes, his expensive silk pajamas, it was still me. Ethan. The undertall guy who couldn't even reach the printer tray without asking for help. I raised my chin, tried to look dominant, tried to channel CEO energy. Bow before me, mortals. The mirror man looked ridiculous, like he was constipated. I dropped the act and groaned, dragging a hand down my handsome new face. Great, I finally get to be tall, and I still look like an idiot. But an idiot who could see the top of the fridge. An idiot who could finally look down on people. An idiot with abs. And maybe, just maybe, an idiot about to take on the corporate world. Chapter 2, First Day, First Fail. There are a lot of things you don't realize about being tall until you experience it firsthand. Walking into the lobby of my company, no, his company, wasn't just intimidating because of the marble floors and the crystal chandeliers. No, it was intimidating because the receptionist blinked up at me, wide-eyed. And here's the thing. For the first time in my life, I was looking down at the receptionist. Ethan Reed, undertall since birth, finally had the vantage point of a predator. For the first time ever, I looked down at the receptionist. She flinched. So this is dominance. It was intoxicating. So naturally, I ruined it. Good morning, I said brightly, giving her my best cheerful smile. Her pen clattered to the desk. Good morning, Mr. Reed. I swear she looked like she was about to faint. Okay, maybe the smile was too much. Cold CEOs don't smile. Cold CEOs brood. Cold CEOs glare. Cold CEOs radiate frostbite and bankruptcy. I took a deep breath, squared my new massive shoulders, and strode across the lobby like I owned it, which technically I did. The staff scrambled like pigeons at the park. Phones were dropped. Papers fluttered. Someone whispered, "Why is he smiling?" I froze mid-step. Smile, right? Don't smile. I dropped it instantly, trying for a glacial, indifferent expression. Except instead of cold-blooded CEO, it probably came out as man who desperately needs a bathroom. A young man in a suit rushed forward to hold the elevator door open. Reflexively, I said, "Thank you." The poor guy nearly swallowed his tongue. "You're welcome, sir." Okay, maybe thanking people isn't very CEO-like. But come on. I can't just ignore basic manners. The elevator doors slid shut. I caught my reflection in the mirrored wall and groaned. Ethan, you idiot, rule number 1. Cold CEOs don't thank people. They accept gratitude as their birthright. My reflection stared back, devastatingly handsome, tall, broad, and pouting, still pouting. Even with cheekbones sharp enough to cut glass, I still looked like a sulking child denied dessert. The top floor smelled like money and intimidation. Sleek black walls, chrome accents, windows stretching from floor to ceiling. A few employees glanced up as I walked past. Their eyes widened. Their shoulders stiffened. I tried glaring. Just glaring. Like I'd practiced in the mirror last night. One employee squeaked and ducked behind a stack of folders. Another froze like a deer in headlights. Wait, did it actually work? Did I just intimidate someone? The rush of power was incredible. I could get used to this. Except then my new long legs betrayed me. My stride was too long. My foot caught on the edge of the rug, and I stumbled forward, arms windmilling. I managed not to faceplant, but the sound of my shoe squeaking echoed through the hall like a clown horn. Everyone stared. "Carry on," I said, trying to sound commanding. The employees scurried away in a flurry of heels and whispers. Okay, not smooth, but hey, at least no one patted my head this time. Inside the CEO's office, a cavern of leather chairs, steel shelves, and a desk big enough to land a helicopter on. I collapsed into the chair and let out a groan. Grace Miller, the secretary, appeared in the doorway. Her hair was tied in a perfect bun. Her glasses gleamed, and her expression screamed, long suffering. "Mr. Reed, your morning schedule." "Grace," I blurted too enthusiastically. She blinked, adjusting her glasses. "Yes, sir?" I scrambled to cover. Grace. I lowered my voice an octave, aiming for cool and commanding. Came out gravelly like I'd swallowed sand. "Proceed." Her eyes narrowed ever so slightly. Suspicion. Grace had worked for the old CEO. She knew what he was like. Ruthless, sharp, terrifying. I, meanwhile, was basically a golden retriever stuffed into a wolf costume. She handed me a folder. "You have a board meeting in 30 minutes. They'll be expecting you." She didn't say the cold-blooded viper who devours weaker companies for breakfast, but it was implied. "Of course," I said, trying to recline in the chair like a man in total control. except the chair reclined too far and nearly launched me onto the floor. Grace's lips twitched. Not a smile. A smirk. "I'll bring your coffee," she said smoothly. "Thank you," I said automatically. She froze. I froze. Her eyebrow rose, slow and deliberate. I coughed, lowering my voice again. "I mean acceptable." She turned and left without a word. The moment the door clicked shut, I slammed my forehead on the desk. Day 1. First hour. Already a failure. If the old Ethan Reed's ghost is watching, he's laughing his Armani suit off. By the time the board meeting rolled around, my nerves were fried. I straightened my tie, practiced my glare in the glass wall, still pouting, and marched into the conference room. Every head turned. The board members straightened like schoolchildren caught misbehaving. I opened my mouth to greet them, then remembered. No smiles, no cheer. I cleared my throat and said, "Gentlemen," came out too soft, too polite. I tried again, louder, "Gentlemen." They all jumped. Papers scattered. Someone nearly dropped their coffee. Great. I sound less like a CEO and more like a middle school teacher trying to control a pep rally. I sat down, towering over them all, trying to project dominance. At least I can look down on them now. Finally. Victory. But when I leaned back to fold my arms, my elbow knocked over the glass of water in front of me. Toppled. Splashed across the polished table. The board gasped. Panicked. "Sorry." Dead silence. I forced myself to cough, lower my voice, and add, "I mean, unfortunate." They all stared at me like I'd grown 2 heads. And that's when I realized, being tall gives you height, but it doesn't give you dignity. Chapter 3, Rival Sparks. There's a universal truth about meetings. They're boring. I used to sit in office meetings staring at the ceiling tiles, imagining what it would be like to be anywhere else. But board meetings in this body. Different story. These weren't regular meetings. These were gladiator arenas, where old rich men in suits circled, waiting to see who bled first. And today, the lion in the ring was none other than Adrien Chun. Adrien Chun. Rival CEO, genius strategist, terrifyingly composed, known for stripping companies down to their bones and walking away with the profit. He was the kind of man you didn't want across the table from you, unless you were into that sort of thing. Sharp cheekbones, dark, neat hair, eyes like a hawk sizing you up for dinner. I knew him from the news. Cold, brilliant, untouchable. In real life, he was worse. Hotter. Which was inconvenient, because apparently I was supposed to be his rival. The meeting room buzzed as Adrien slid into the chair opposite me, smooth as a cat. His suit fit like it had been stitched directly onto his body by angels with tailoring degrees. He raised one perfect eyebrow. Reed. That single word carried enough venom to poison a small village. I straightened my tie, squared my shoulders, and summoned my new favorite weapon. Height. I stood, slowly, looming over him like a skyscraper over a parking meter. I've never been able to loom before. Feels amazing. But why does my neck hurt from looking down so long? He tilted his head up at me, unimpressed. His gaze flicked to the water glass I'd already spilled earlier, then back to me. The corner of his mouth twitched. Okay. I had to say something. Something cold. Ruthless. Something that would make the entire room tremble. Instead, my brain short-circuited. "Your tie really brings out your eyes," I blurted. Everyone went silent. Even the air conditioner seemed to pause. The words hung in the air like a glittery balloon at a funeral. Adrien blinked. Once, twice. His expression didn't change, but the room temperature did. It dropped 20 degrees. The board members exchanged panicked glances. Grace, standing at the side with her notepad, pressed her lips together so tightly her face turned red. Adrien leaned back in his chair, slow and deliberate. "Excuse me," I swallowed. Hard. "I mean, think, Ethan. Recover. It's a very strategic tie. Power color. Dominant. Impressive choice." Adrien's lips curved. Not into a smile. Into something sharper. A smirk. Flattery. "Reed? That's new. Did you wake up this morning and decide to grow a conscience?" he asked. Laughter rippled around the table. Not mine. Definitely not mine. Abort. Abort. Stop talking before you embarrass yourself further. But no. My mouth had other plans. Well, I just thought. It deserved to be acknowledged. Adrien's eyes narrowed. My tie. Yes. He stared at me for a long, unbearable moment. Then he leaned forward, elbows on the table, chin resting on his steepled fingers. His eyes locked on mine. You've changed, Reed. My heart did a triple backflip. I forced a scoff, trying to act aloof. People evolve. Not you, you don't evolve. You consume, he said softly. That sent a shiver down my spine. Not a bad shiver. Not a good one, either. Just a very confusing shiver that had no business existing in a professional environment. The rest of the meeting was a blur. Numbers, strategies, mergers. I tried to focus, really, I did. But every time Adrien spoke, my eyes betrayed me. I wasn't staring at the numbers in the file. I was staring at the way his lips shaped words like equity and liquid assets. Ethan, focus. You're supposed to be a terrifying CEO, not a middle schooler with a crush. When the meeting finally ended, I felt like I'd run a marathon barefoot through a cactus field. Everyone stood, papers shuffling, chairs scraping. Adrien was last to rise. He smoothed his suit jacket and gave me one last look. Good luck, Reed, you'll need it, he said, voice like velvet over steel. I opened my mouth, intending to shoot back something sharp. Ruthless. Dominant. Instead, what came out was, you too. You too? You too? What is this, a Starbucks drive-thru? Adrien's smirk deepened, like he'd just uncovered a secret. He brushed past me, close enough for me to catch the faintest trace of his cologne. Something dark, expensive, and completely unfair. My knees wobbled. My neck ached from all that looming. I collapsed back into my chair the moment the room emptied. Grace poked her head back in. Mr. Reed, that was an interesting tactic. Shut up, I groaned, covering my face with both hands. Tall or not, I'm doomed. Chapter 4, Practicing Dominance. There's one thing they don't tell you about becoming tall overnight. It's useless if you don't know how to use it. Height is a weapon, a gift, an evolutionary cheat code. But in the wrong hands, mine, it's like giving a toddler a flamethrower. Sure, I can see the top of the fridge now. But can I look like a man who controls empires with a single glare? No. So, like any reasonable undertall turned Goliath, I decided to practice. I locked myself in the penthouse office, stood in front of the massive mirror, and squared my shoulders. All right, Ethan, this is your villain origin story. Channel icy ruthlessness. Channel frostbite. Channel, I killed a man with paperwork and enjoyed it. I told my reflection. The man in the mirror was devastatingly tall, devastatingly broad, devastatingly handsome. Objectively, at least. Subjectively, he looked like a Labrador trying to play Darth Vader. I narrowed my eyes, stared myself down. Glare, cold, piercing. A death glare so sharp, the stock market crashes. I muttered. The mirror glared back. Except, no, it wasn't a glare. It was a pout. I leaned closer. No, no, no. That's not menace. That's you ate the last cookie and I'm telling Mom. I tried again. Chin up. Brows furrowed. Eyes half-lidded. Slow nod. Power nod. The nod of a man who agrees only because he secretly owns your soul. I tilted my chin once, deliberately. The effect? Somewhere between sleepy owl and man who just remembered he left the stove on. I groaned. When I glared at people back at 5'2", they called it pouting. Now, at 6'3", they still call it pouting. Damn it! I tried pacing, arms folded, practicing different angles. Arms crossed like a general? Too stiff. Hands in pockets. Aloof? Too much hip sway. Hands behind back? Looked like I was about to give a high school presentation on World War II. The mirror me smirked at me mockingly, like even he knew I was a fraud. No, you will be scary. You have abs now. Abs deserve respect. I told him. I clenched my jaw, practicing a cold smirk. Instead, my reflection looked constipated. Perfect, truly terrifying. I muttered. The door creaked. I froze mid-glare, eyes narrowed, one hand still half-raised like I was about to deliver the "I find your lack of faith" disturbing speech. "Sir." Grace stood in the doorway. My secretary. Ice Queen incarnate. Bun so sharp it could cut glass. And, at that moment, witness to my greatest humiliation. I dropped my hand like I'd been caught stealing cookies. "Grace." I was just stretching. Her eyes swept over me, unimpressed. "Stretching?" "Yes," I said firmly, adjusting my tie. "Stretches. Very effective. Builds dominance." She didn't blink, didn't smile, just stared. Then she said, "Sir, maybe don't try so hard." It was like she'd stabbed me straight through my big, broad chest. I wasn't trying, this is all natural, effortless. I was born to glare. I lied, instantly defensive. Her mouth twitched just slightly. Not enough to call a smile, but enough to haunt me later. "Of course, sir. Born to glare." She turned on her heel, leaving me alone with my mirror shame. I turned back to my reflection and sighed. Born to glare, my ass. I was born to be undertall and overlooked. And now that I finally have the chance, I look like a pouty anime boy trapped in a linebacker's body. The mirror didn't deny it. I leaned closer, whispering to myself like a man plotting against fate. Fine. Maybe my glare doesn't work. Maybe my smirk looks constipated. But I'll figure it out. I'll find the perfect CO aura, and then no one, not Grace, not the board, not Adrien Chun and his stupid perfect tie, will underestimate me. My reflection raised an eyebrow at me. I sighed again. Okay, maybe not today, but soon. Later, in the elevator on the way down, 2 employees snuck glances at me. "Did you see him?" He looked intense. One whispered, "Intense?" "He looked like he was sulking," the other hissed. I stared at the elevator buttons, expression blank, pretending not to hear. Inside, though, my inner voice howled. Sulking. Again. No escape from the pout. At least I was sulking at 6-3 now. Chapter 5 First Accidental Kiss. Dramatic exits are supposed to be smooth, sharp, ruthless. You stand, deliver one last devastating line, and sweep out of the room with your coat flaring like a cape. The world trembles. Men fear you. Women weep. History remembers you. That was the plan. Instead, I forgot one tiny little detail. I'm new to being tall. The board meeting had been a disaster again. Adrien Chun, in his immaculate navy suit and predator smile, had verbally dismantled my every attempt at strategy. The board loved him. They practically applauded his PowerPoint slides. And me? I'd been left with sweaty palms and a brain that short-circuited every time he said, "Profit margins." So when the meeting ended, I decided it was time for my redemption moment. My dramatic exit. I stood. Slowly. Chairs scraped back. People murmured. My new shoulders looked impressive in the tailored suit. My jawline was practically weaponized. "Gentlemen, we'll continue this discussion another time," I said, voice deep, calm, dominant. Then I turned, heading for the door. My coat swished. My stride was long, powerful. For a glorious 3 seconds, I actually looked like a cold-blooded CEO walking out in control. 3 seconds. Then disaster struck. Okay, advantage of being tall, great reach. Disadvantage. My legs are too damn long. My foot caught on the rug. My center of gravity shifted. And before I could save myself, I stumbled forward. Unfortunately, Adrien Chun was right behind me. My momentum carried me straight into him. My hands reached out automatically to catch myself, palms landing squarely against his chest. And then, our lips collided. Time stopped. The world went silent. The only sound was the thunderous boom of my heart, which was currently performing an Olympic gymnastics routine in my ribcage. Adrien's lips were warm, firm, the kind of lips that probably sealed deals worth millions and crushed lesser men's dreams. My brain screamed, "Abort! Abort! Pull away!" But my body? Frozen. And so was his. Adrien Chun. Ruthless rival. Corporate predator. Stone-cold businessman. Completely frozen. I shot back like I'd been electrocuted. I, I, I didn't. That wasn't. Oh my God. I babbled, words tripping over each other faster than my new legs. I fell. The rug. Your tie. Your stupid tie distracted me. Adrien just stared, expression blank, eyes wide, lips still slightly parted like the ghost of my clumsy mistake lingered there. My panic doubled. I'm so sorry. Not that. That was. It didn't mean anything. I mean, not that your lips aren't great. Oh God. Why did I say that? The board members, frozen mid-pack up, gawked at us. One man dropped his pen. Grace, at the door, choked on what suspiciously sounded like laughter. Silence. This meeting is adjourned. I blurted, slamming my palm on the table like a judge. Then I bolted. The hallway outside felt like a crime scene. I leaned against the wall, clutching my chest, trying to breathe. My lips tingled. My ears burned. My dignity was dead. Congratulations, Ethan. You've achieved new levels of failure. From undertall mascot to tall CEO to accidental lip thief. I banged my forehead lightly against the wall. Why? Why are my legs so long? Who approved this upgrade? Behind me, the door creaked open. I froze. Adrien stepped out. His expression, indecipherable. Cold mask perfectly restored, except for the faintest quirk at the corner of his mouth. Watch your step, Reed. You might trip into worse situations next time. He said softly, voice calm, measured. My soul left my body. I'll be more careful. I squeaked, before running. Actually running, down the hall like a startled deer. Later that night, alone in the penthouse, I collapsed onto the bed and groaned into the pillow. Day 5 of being tall. Accidentally kissed my rival CEO in front of the entire board. At this rate, I'll trip into marriage papers by the end of the month. And the worst part? I couldn't stop thinking about it. The warmth. The shock. The way his eyes widened just slightly, like I'd cracked the uncrackable Adrien Chun for a second. I buried my face deeper into the pillow and screamed. Being tall is dangerous. Chapter 6, The Plant Savior. Everyone thinks CEOs spend their days firing people, crushing rivals, and swimming in gold coins like Scrooge McDuck. But you know what this CEO did on Tuesday morning? Watered plants. Yes, plants. Started because I noticed the conference room ficus looked sad. Its leaves drooped like my self-esteem at 5'2". And don't get me started on the potted snake plant in the corner. Its soil was dry enough to qualify as desert terrain. I couldn't just sit there and watch them suffer. I may not be a proper CEO, but damn it, I'm a decent human being. So I marched down to the break room, found a watering can, and declared myself the savior of office greenery. Back when I was short, I couldn't even reach the office ficus. Now, I am its god. That's how I ended up in the middle of a board meeting. Tie loosened, watering can in hand, gently pouring life into a cactus while the board members whispered nervously. Is this some new leadership technique? One muttered. Silent intimidation? Another guessed. Maybe he's bonding with the plants as a metaphor for company growth? I wanted to tell them the truth. No, I just hate neglect. But I kept my head high, pouring water like it was the most natural thing in the world. If anyone asked, I was going to call it nurture-based management strategy. Of course, the universe couldn't let me have this one moment of peace. The door opened. Adrien Chun walked in. Time slowed. There I was. 6'3", supposed ruthless CEO, crouched beside a cactus with a bright red watering can shaped like an elephant. Yes, an elephant, with a little trunk spout. The look on Adrien's face was priceless. Shock, confusion, maybe horror. What are you doing? He asked, voice low, precise. I froze, watering can mid-pour, like a criminal caught red-handed. Think, Ethan. Say something ruthless, something cold, something that makes this look like part of a grand plan. Photosynthesis, I blurted. Adrien stared. Excuse me? I scrambled to stand, nearly smacking my head on the ficus above me. These plants are an investment. Yes, a reflection of the company's health. If the plants thrive, the company thrives. Obviously. Silence. He blinked once, twice. Then his lips twitched. Just barely. Is he about to laugh? No. Impossible. Adrien Chun doesn't laugh. He devours laughter and spits out stock options. Interesting philosophy. I never pegged you as the nurturing type, he said finally, smoothing his suit sleeve. I tried to smirk. Probably looked like constipation again. Now I am. His eyes lingered on me. Too long. Too sharp. Like he was peeling me open layer by layer. Well, I look forward to seeing how you grow, he said. Then he turned and walked out, leaving me with the cactus, the elephant watering can, and a pulse so loud I was sure the entire boardroom heard it. The moment the door shut, chaos erupted. One board member whispered. He complimented him. Another gasped. Adrien Chun never compliments anyone. Grace scribbled something in her notepad, her face perfectly blank. But I swear her shoulders shook like she was holding back laughter. I sighed, collapsing into my chair, still clutching the watering can. Fantastic, Ethan. First you kiss him by accident. Now he catches you whispering sweet nothings to a cactus. What's next? Singing lullabies to the copy machine? Later that afternoon, I walked past the ficus again. Its leaves perked up, greener than before. You're welcome, I whispered, patting a leaf. Across the hall, Adrien stood with a file in hand, watching me. I jumped like I'd been tasered. It's research. Growth strategies. Adrien arched an eyebrow, expression unreadable. Then he walked away without a word. But I swear, just swear, I saw the ghost of a smile tug at his lips. That night, lying in bed, I groaned into my pillow. Note to self. Stop doing soft things in public. Ruthless CEOs don't nurture plants. Ruthless CEOs don't thank employees. Ruthless CEOs don't... Whatever the hell that was with Adrien. But then I remembered the way his voice had dipped when he said, I never pegged you as the nurturing type, and my stupid heart flipped over like a fish out of water. I covered my face with both hands. I am doomed. Chapter 7 Business Lunch Disaster. Rule number 1 of surviving as a ruthless CEO. Never let your rival see you sweat. Rule number 2. Always look like you know what you're doing. Rule number 3. Drink black coffee. Powerful men drink black coffee. Ruthless CEOs don't order vanilla lattes with extra foam and 2 sugars. So when Adrien Chun invited me to a casual business lunch, I was determined to play it cool, suave, dominant, the kind of man who could stare across a table, sip his bitter coffee without flinching, and still look like he owned the whole damn restaurant. That was the plan. The restaurant was one of those high-end places where even the air smelled expensive. Crystal glasses, white tablecloths, waiters who moved like ninjas in suits. Adrien sat across from me, perfectly put together as always. His navy tie, his calm posture, his expression unreadable, like he was carved from CEO marble. Order whatever you'd like, he said smoothly, handing me a menu. Inside voice, okay, Ethan, time to prove you're not just a tall disaster. You're a tall, sophisticated disaster. I'll take black coffee, I said firmly, snapping the menu shut like I just sealed $1 million deal. The waiter nodded. Adrien's eyebrow twitched, just barely. Brave choice, he murmured. The coffee arrived quickly. A steaming cup of liquid darkness. It looked like tar. Smelled like the inside of a tire shop. But I kept my cool. Picked it up like I'd been doing this all my life. Tall men drink black coffee, right? Wrong. My tongue just died. The first sip hit like battery acid. My entire mouth screamed. My soul attempted to eject from my body. And before I could stop myself, I spat it. Everywhere. Across the table. Onto my plate. A fine mist of CEO dignity evaporated into the air. The restaurant went silent. Waiters froze mid-step. A man at the next table gasped. And Adrien Chun didn't move. He just sat there. A tiny drop of coffee glistening on his immaculate tie, staring at me. My panic erupted. I'm sorry. It's hotter than I expected. Not that I can't handle heat. I love heat. Adrien dabbed his tie with a napkin, unbothered. His eyes flicked back to me, calm, cool, smirking. I liked the old Ethan less, but at least he could handle coffee, he said casually. I choked. The old. I can handle coffee. I was just testing. Yes, testing the bitterness levels. He leaned back in his chair, lips twitching like he was enjoying this way too much. And the results? I grimaced, lifting the cup again with shaky hands. Utterly lethal. I forced another sip, immediately regretted it, and somehow managed to swallow without spraying this time. My taste buds curled up and died. Adrien chuckled. Quiet, low, just enough to make me forget the taste of scorched tar in my mouth. The food arrived, something elegant with names I couldn't pronounce. I stabbed at it with my fork, pretending I knew what I was doing. Interesting choice, Adrien said, watching me mangle a delicate piece of fish. I love, French cuisine. I lied. It's Italian. Oh, I love Italian. I stabbed again. His smirk deepened. Do you? Yes. Very fishy. The rest of the lunch was a blur of me trying not to choke, spill, or accidentally order chicken nuggets off the kids' menu. Adrien, of course, was flawless, cutting his food with precision, sipping his wine like he was in a commercial. Meanwhile, I was sweating bullets, convinced every bite would expose me as a fraud. At one point, Adrien leaned forward slightly, resting his chin on his hand. His eyes locked on me like he was dissecting every twitch of my face. You're different these days, Ethan, he said. I froze, fork halfway to my mouth. Different. Less accrual. Less cold. More unpredictable. He paused, gaze flicking briefly to my lips before meeting my eyes again. My brain flatlined. My hands fumbled. The fork clattered to the plate. Abort mission. This is not a business lunch. This is a slow-burn death sentence. When we finally left the restaurant, Adrien walked beside me in silence. My dignity limped behind us in a body bag. As we stepped onto the street, he glanced at me, the faintest smile tugging at his lips. Next time, try a latte. He murmured. I died inside. That night, back in the penthouse, I collapsed face first on the bed. Day 7 of being tall. Survived a business lunch. Barely. My rival now thinks I'm a plant-watering, coffee-spitting fraud. Which, to be fair, I am. I groaned into the pillow. Why am I like this? The memory of Adrien's chuckle echoed in my head. Low, warm, dangerous. And despite everything, my heart wouldn't shut up. Damn it. I think I like him. Chapter 8, Second Accidental Kiss. If there's one thing nobody tells you about being tall, it's this: your arms become weapons of mass destruction. Seriously, they're long. They're clumsy. They swing into door frames, knock over coffee cups, and wipe out entire ecosystems of paperwork with a single gesture. Back when I was 5'2", my arms never got in anyone's way. People used to pat my head and laugh about how compact I was. Now my arms are like wrecking balls of humiliation. And today they nearly killed me. It started innocently enough. I was in my office, reviewing a contract with Adrien. Yes, Adrien Chun. My nemesis, my rival, my very distracting tablemate. We sat across from each other at the desk, papers spread between us. He leaned forward, sharp eyes scanning the fine print. I leaned forward too, trying to look equally serious. Clause 15, this doesn't favor us. We'll need to renegotiate, he murmured, pointing to a line with his pen. I nodded like I knew exactly what he meant. Truth. I was reading the words, but my brain had already shut down at hereby. To compensate, I decided to lean in closer. To look invested, professional, dominant. Bad idea. My arms sprawled across the desk without permission. One hand knocked a pen. The other grazed a folder. My elbow bumped the coffee mug. Warning. Tall arms approaching critical mass. In my panic to pull back, I jerked too hard. My chair slid forward. And then, impact. My lips brushed his. The world went silent. My brain screamed. No. This wasn't a clumsy stumble in front of the whole board. This was worse. Closer. Private. Intimate. Adrien froze. His eyes went wide, pupils darkening. His pen slipped from his fingers, rolling silently across the desk. And I wanted to die. Tall arms are weapons of mass destruction. Against personal space. Against sanity. Against my chances of ever surviving this company. I shot back so fast my chair nearly toppled. That wasn't. My arms. Too long personal space. Oh my God. My words dissolved into incoherent babbling. My face burned so hot I was surprised the papers didn't catch fire. Adrien didn't say a word. He just stared. And then, his ears went red. Red. Bright, unmistakable, adorable red. The great Adrien Chun, ice-cold CEO, blushing like a schoolboy caught passing notes. I flailed for an explanation. It was an accident. Total accident. Not that it was bad. Oh my God, shut up, Ethan. He lifted a hand, stopping me mid-rant. Enough. I froze. For a terrifying moment, I thought he was going to storm out, call me unprofessional, maybe have me exiled to Antarctica. Instead, he leaned back in his chair, one hand covering his mouth, as if he were hiding something. And then it hit me. He was trying not to smile. My soul left my body. This meeting is over, I blurted. Standing so quickly my knee smacked the underside of the desk. And before he could respond, I bolted. Again. Later, alone in the penthouse, I collapsed onto the couch, burying my face in my hands. Day 8 of being tall. Accidentally kissed my rival. Again. My arms betrayed me. My dignity is dead. But I remembered the way his ears had turned crimson, the faint quiver at the corner of his lips. But he blushed. My heart thumped traitorously. I groaned, rolling onto my back. Tall arms. You're going to ruin my life. But deep, deep inside, I didn't hate the ruin. Chapter 9: Rumors and Morale Boost. The problem with running a company while trapped in the body of a 6'3" ruthless CEO is that people expect, ruthlessness. They expect you to crush, not comfort. They expect terror, not apologies. But me, Ethan Reed, former 5'2" professional Shortie, I can't stop apologizing. Started small. Sorry about earlier, I told the receptionist after bumping her desk with my skyscraper shoulders. Her jaw dropped. Sir, you apologized? Yes. I frowned. She blinked like I'd handed her a winning lottery ticket. By the time I got to the elevator, whispers were already flying. By noon, I'd apologized to 3 interns, 1 janitor, and a man I accidentally startled by existing too suddenly in the hallway. And the result? Morale skyrocketed. At the weekly department check-in, I stood at the head of the conference table. My posture was perfect, my voice deep. I meant to sound dominant. But what came out was, I know I've been difficult in the past, maybe even cruel. The employees froze, eyes wide, like I just confessed to murdering Santa Claus. I'd like to do better, you all work hard, and I appreciate it. Truly. I continued, trying to look tall and wise. Dead silence. Then one brave soul whispered, he thanked us. Another gasped, he's smiling. Look, he's smiling. The room practically vibrated with shock. People looked at each other like they'd just seen an eclipse. When I was short, no one listened to my apologies. Now that I'm tall, people look like they've witnessed a miracle. The change spread like wildfire. By the afternoon, I caught 2 interns high-fiving outside the copier. A manager walked past humming a cheerful tune. Someone even taped a sticky note on my office door that read, "Thank you for not being terrifying today." Smiley face, I should have been proud. But mostly I was panicking. Note to self, stop apologizing. Ruthless CEOs don't say sorry. Ruthless CEOs don't boost morale. Ruthless CEOs don't. The thought died when I heard the whispers. I'd been passing by the break room when I overheard 2 employees chatting. Have you noticed the boss lately? One whispered. Yeah, he's softer. Kinder. Like he's in love or something. The other replied. My entire brain short-circuited. In love. With who? I nearly dropped my coffee. A latte this time. Lesson learned. I spun on my heel to tell them to get back to work. But then, I saw him, Adrien Chun, standing just down the hall. He wasn't supposed to be there. He wasn't supposed to be close enough to hear. But from the look on his face, sharp, unreadable, too still, he had definitely caught those words. His gaze flicked from the gossiping employees to me, and lingered, too long, too intense, like he was trying to measure something he couldn't quite calculate. I panicked, of course. Good afternoon, I stammered, straightening like a soldier caught slouching. Fine weather. Very sunny. Adrien didn't respond. He just kept staring. And the longer he stared, the hotter my face burned. Finally he spoke, voice low. So, softer, kinder, in love? My soul attempted to crawl out through my shoes. That's just rumors. Ridiculous rumors. I'm not. I wouldn't. I mean love? Absurd. I babbled. Adrien's lips quirked. Absurd. Yes. Completely absurd. I'm too busy with plants. And contracts. And, did I mention plants? I nodded so hard I nearly sprained my neck. He tilted his head, eyes narrowing just slightly, like he was dissecting me again. Then he turned and walked away, leaving me a sweaty mess in the hallway. For the rest of the day, I felt his eyes on me. In the boardroom, in the hall, even through the glass walls of my office. Whenever I looked up, there he was, watching. Not cold, not sharp, but curious. Almost like he was trying to figure out if the rumor was true. That night, sprawled on my bed, I groaned into the ceiling. Day 9 of being tall. Employees think I'm in love. Adrien may also think I'm in love. And the way he stared at me all day, I rolled over, clutching my pillow. This is fine. Totally fine. No problems here. Except I might actually be in love. Oh God. My heart thudded traitorously. I'm doomed. Chapter 10, Lunchbox Bond. When people say, the way to a man's heart is through his stomach, I never thought they meant my rival's stomach. But here I was, standing in my penthouse kitchen, at midnight, panicking. The problem? Adrien Chun. He'd been looking at me differently since the rumors, staring too long, watching too closely, and tomorrow we had another meeting. Just the two of us. Alone. I needed a strategy. A shield. Something to distract him from figuring out that I'm actually a short dude trapped in a skyscraper body. So, naturally, I decided to make him a lunchbox. Now, don't laugh. Back in my real body, people treated my cooking like snacks. Cute. Novelty-sized. Oh, Ethan made brownies? Adorable. They'd pat my head, devour my cookies, and call me precious. But this body, this CEO body, wasn't supposed to do cute things like packing lunches. It was supposed to order foie gras off gold-plated menus. Still, I couldn't help it. I boiled eggs. I layered sandwiches. I even cut apple slices into little fans because apparently my panic brain goes full Pinterest mom at midnight. When I looked at the finished lunchbox, I felt a weird surge of pride. Perfect. Now, if Adrien tries to dissect my soul again, I'll just shove a sandwich in his face. The next day, I arrived at the meeting early, sat at the massive mahogany table, placed the neat little lunchbox in front of me like it was a bomb. Adrien walked in 5 minutes later, sharp as always. Navy suit, calm eyes, predatory grace. And me? Sweaty palms, racing heart. We went over contracts, numbers, clauses. I nodded at the right times, doodled squiggly lines in my notes, and prayed he wouldn't notice I hadn't understood half the conversation. Then the moment of truth cleared my throat. So, I made this. I slid the lunchbox across the table. Adrien raised an eyebrow. Slowly, deliberately. You made me lunch? Yes. Yes. It's fuel. For work. Efficiency, you know? Eating is essential to productivity. I said too fast. Silence. Then he opened it. The way Adrien Chun looked at my sandwiches, it was like he was inspecting a contract worth billions. His eyes narrowed, then softened. He picked one up carefully, like it might explode. Then he bit into it. and kept chewing, and chewing, and chewing. The silence was killing me. Well, too much mustard? Too little? The bread's too fluffy, isn't it? Oh God, did I? More, he said. I blinked. What? More next time. Bring more. Adrien repeated, still chewing. My brain flatlined. Adrien Chun just devoured my sandwich like it was a treaty. I sat there, frozen, while he demolished the rest of the lunchbox in silence. Every bite was slow, precise, almost reverent, and I, idiot that I am, just sat there staring at his mouth like it was suddenly the most fascinating thing in the world. When he finished, he closed the box neatly, set it aside, and looked straight at me. I expect another one tomorrow, he said calmly. Expect? You can't just... I'm not your lunch supplier, I sputtered. His lips curved, just slightly. You are now. I wanted to melt into the floor. After he left, I collapsed into my chair, head in my hands. Day 10 of being tall, made a lunchbox for my rival. He ate it, demanded more. I think I just signed a lifetime catering contract without realizing it. I groaned. This is fine. Totally fine. It's not like feeding Adrien Chun makes my chest feel weird. Nope. Totally normal. No problems here. But deep down, my stupid heart whispered, tomorrow, make 2 sandwiches. Chapter 11, Forced Proximity Kiss. Elevators are supposed to be convenient. You step in, press a button, ride up or down, and voila, destination reached. What they aren't supposed to do is stall mid-ride, trap you in darkness, and give you a heart attack while your rival/maybe crush stands 2 feet away in a designer suit. But of course, that's exactly what happened. It started after a long day of meetings. Adrien and I stepped into the executive elevator together. Just the 2 of us. Silence thick enough to choke on. I pressed the button for the top floor. Adrien stood beside me, calm as ever, scrolling through his phone like the whole building belonged to him. Which, honestly, it probably did. The elevator hummed. The floor numbers lit up. And then, flicker, clunk, silence. The lights went out. Did we just? I squeaked, clutching the railing. Yes, we stopped, Adrien said evenly. No big deal, right? We'll be moving again in, 30 seconds? Maybe less. I laughed nervously. Silence. I tugged at my collar. Great. Stuck in a box with Adrien Chun. My worst nightmare. My best dream. My absolute doom. Then the emergency lights flickered on. Dim, red, dramatic, and I stumbled right into Adrien's chest. Now, let me be clear. This wasn't a gentle little brush. This was a full body slam. My forehead smacked his thigh. My hands grabbed his arms. My nose was basically buried in expensive cologne. He steadied me instantly, one hand on my shoulder, the other at my waist. Firm, unshakable. And suddenly, our faces were inches apart. Back at 5'2", kissing meant stretching on tiptoe. Now, somehow, I still managed to trip into one. Progress? I froze. My brain short-circuited. My eyes locked on his. Adrien's gaze was intense, dark, focused, like he was studying me, dissecting me, and maybe, just maybe, wanting something. The air between us buzzed. My heart pounded so loud I was sure the elevator walls echoed with it. Then, slowly, deliberately, Adrien leaned down and kissed me. It wasn't clumsy. It wasn't rushed. It was soft, intentional. His lips pressed against mine with quiet certainty, like he'd decided something a long time ago and was only now acting on it. Meanwhile, I was internally screaming, "Oh my God, this is happening. My rival is kissing me. He's kissing me. And he's good at it. Too good. Unfair advantage." My hands hovered awkwardly, unsure whether to push him away or pull him closer. Spoiler, they did nothing. I just stood there like a malfunctioning lamppost while Adrien Chun kissed me like he had all the time in the world. When he finally pulled back, I was dazed, breathless, my brain completely fried. He looked at me, unreadable as ever, though his ears were definitely pink. "You're clumsy," he murmured, voice low. I wasn't trying to. That was gravity. Poor balance. Bad flooring. I babbled, hands flailing. Adrien's lips quirked. The faintest smirk. Excuses. I gawked. Excuses. That was physics. He tilted his head. Physics doesn't explain why you didn't pull away. My soul evacuated my body. Plants. I need to water the plants. And then, as if the universe wanted to save me from spontaneous combustion, the elevator jolted back to life. The lights brightened. The car moved. The doors opened. I bolted out like a man escaping prison, leaving Adrien behind with his maddening calm and my dignity shattered in the corner. That night, lying in bed, I buried my face in a pillow. Day 11 of being tall. Kissed by Adrien Chun. Not an accident. Not a rumor. A real kiss. And I didn't hate it. At all. I groaned. This is bad. So bad. So good. So bad. My lips still tingled. My heart refused to shut up. If this keeps up, I'm doomed. Utterly doomed. Chapter 12, The Big Showdown. When people say boardroom showdown, you imagine steel gazes, cutting words, maybe a dramatic slam of the briefcase. What you don't imagine is me, Ethan Reed, standing there in a skyscraper body, sweating through my expensive suit while trying to remember if mergers are spelled with an E or an A. The setting. The top floor boardroom, glass walls gleaming, skylines stretching behind us like a corporate battlefield. The players. The board of directors. A dozen gray-haired vultures in tailored suits, waiting to be impressed. And, of course, Adrien Chun, my rival, my recent elevator kisser, which, for the record, I was still not over. Mr. Reed, as you know, this merger is crucial. We expect decisive leadership, ruthless strategy, the kind of cold efficiency you're famous for. One of the directors began. I swallowed. Famous. For ruthlessness. For being scary. Back at 5'2". The only thing I was famous for was being cute enough to pass as a middle schooler. And now they wanted blood? I nodded stiffly, trying to channel CO dominance. My height helped, sort of. For the first time, I looked down on the board members. Felt powerful. Felt glorious. And then I opened my mouth. Ladies and gentlemen, this merger isn't just about profit margins. I said, voice cracking slightly. Half the table blinked. It's about loyalty, fairness, treating people right. One man adjusted his glasses. Another frowned. Adrien, across the table, arched a single perfect eyebrow. I forged on, words spilling out of me like a faucet I couldn't shut off. Yes, numbers matter, but people matter more. These companies aren't machines. They're made of human beings, of staff who give their all, of employees who stay late and believe in what they're building. If we gut them for profit, what are we left with? Empty halls, empty hearts, empty coffee machines. I was rambling. I knew I was rambling, but I couldn't stop. Tall body, short heart. That's me. The silence after I finished was thick enough to choke on. I braced for laughter, for scorn, for someone to throw a stapler at me. Instead, one of the directors actually nodded. Another murmured, "He's right. Morale drives productivity." Soon the whole table was whispering, nodding, agreeing. And just like that, the board sided with me. Me, the accidental softie. Meanwhile, Adrien. He hadn't said a word. Hadn't moved. He just sat there, watching me with an expression I couldn't read. Not smug. Not cold. Something else. Something that made my stomach flip. Conflicted. Impressed. Curious. And maybe, just maybe, fond. As the meeting adjourned, the directors filing out in surprisingly good spirits, I sagged against the table, wiping sweat off my brow. I'd done it. I hadn't been ruthless. I hadn't been terrifying. I'd been me. And somehow that worked. Adrien lingered behind. Of course he did. He approached slowly, stopping just close enough to make my pulse spike. "That was unexpected," he said. His voice was calm, but softer than usual. "Not the Ethan Reed I remember." I laughed awkwardly. "Yeah, well, people change." His gaze lingered on me, searching, probing, like he was trying to solve a puzzle that wouldn't stay still. Finally, he said, almost under his breath, Maybe change isn't always bad. Then he left, leaving me alone with my hammering heart and the ridiculous thought that Adrien Chun had just complimented me. That night, I flopped on my bed, staring at the ceiling. Day 12 of being tall. I survived a boardroom showdown without being ruthless. I gave a motivational speech about coffee machines, and people actually applauded. I think I've broken capitalism. Also, Adrien looked at me like I was something worth watching. This is dangerous. Very dangerous. I covered my face with a pillow. Why does every day with him feel like I'm balancing on tiptoe all over again? Chapter 13, Confession Without Truth. The problem with being tall isn't just bumping your head on door frames. It's also the way you can't hide. When you're 5'2", you can shrink into the corner, become invisible, let the world pat your head and move on. When you're 6'3" with shoulders broad enough to block a hallway, forget it. You're a walking target. And right now, I was Adrien Chun's target. It happened late in the office. The others had gone home. The city skyline glowed against the windows, all sharp lights and endless dark. I was gathering my things, trying to sneak away before my brain replayed that elevator kiss for the 1000th time. When I felt it. Presence. I turned. Adrien stood in the doorway, leaning casually against the frame. His eyes fixed on me like he had all the time in the world. My stomach dropped. This wasn't a business Adrien. This wasn't a rival Adrien. This was Predator Adrien. "You're not the man I knew," he said quietly. No small talk. No polite mask. Just straight to the jugular. I froze. "What? You've changed." He stepped inside, each stride unhurried but heavy with intent. The Ethan Reed I knew was ruthless, cold, calculating. "You're not him." My heart pounded so hard I could hear it in my ears. He stopped just in front of me, close enough that the air between us felt charged. "So tell me, who are you really?" he said, voice low. Panic. Pure panic. I couldn't tell him the truth. "Hey Adrien, funny story. I'm actually a short guy who got dropped into the skyscraper body and now I can see the top of the fridge." No, that wasn't happening. So I did the next best thing. I crossed my arms, tried to look cold, dominant, tall CEO-ish, and promptly knocked over a vase with my massive shoulder. Toppled in slow motion, smashed on the floor with a dramatic crash. I froze. Adrien blinked. "Smooth," he murmured. Don't read into that." I stammered, trying to salvage the pose. "That was intimidation. A calculated move." Adrien's lips twitched. He took another step closer. "Calculated, hmm?" I backed up. My calves hit the desk. Nowhere left to go. His gaze locked on mine, sharp and searching. But there was heat there too. Something I couldn't mistake. Something that made my breath catch. "Who are you?" he asked again, softer this time, almost like it wasn't about business anymore. I opened my mouth. Nothing came out. My brain was a scrambled egg. And then he kissed me. Not soft. Not hesitant. This wasn't the elevator kiss. This was fire. Heat. Claiming. His lips crushed mine with urgency, like he'd finally stopped holding back. His hand slid to the back of my neck, pulling me closer, deeper. And me? I melted. My arms, those traitorous long limbs, wrapped around him before I could think. My heart thundered. My knees went weak. If not for the desk behind me, I would have collapsed. Holy hell. Adrien Chun is kissing me like I'm oxygen. When he finally pulled back, both of us were breathing hard. His forehead rested against mine, his voice low and rough. "Whoever you are, I want the truth. But until then, don't think you can run from this," he said. His thumb brushed my jaw. My brain, static. My lips, tingling. My dignity, dead. All I managed was a squeaky, "Okay." He gave a soft, dangerous smile, the kind that promised both doom and delight. Then he stepped back, straightened his suit, and walked out like nothing had happened, leaving me pressed against my desk, trembling, lips swollen, and utterly ruined. That night, I lay in bed, staring at the ceiling. Day 13 of being tall. Got kissed again. This time hotter, hungrier. I think my soul left my body and hasn't returned. Note to self, Never cross arms near fragile objects. Also, Adrien Chun is going to kill me. With kisses. And I might let him. Chapter 14, The Willing Kiss. Arguments with Adrien Chun were like sword fights. Except he had an actual sword and I had a pool noodle. Tonight was no different. We were in his office, neutral territory, supposedly. The skyline glowed behind us, tension crackling thicker than the city smog. The merger paperwork sat abandoned on the desk. Neither of us was looking at it. We were too busy glaring. You're reckless. You give speeches about loyalty and fairness instead of protecting the company's bottom line. You don't think about consequences, Adrien said. I bristled. And you're cold. You treat people like chess pieces. Not everything is numbers, Adrien. His jaw tightened. That's exactly why I win. Oh, congratulations. Do you want a trophy? A medal? Maybe a crown made of shredded contracts? I snapped. His eyes narrowed. You can't keep playing this game like it's a charity. You'll get crushed. Something in me snapped. I slammed my hands on his desk, leaning forward. I don't want to fight you anymore. The words rang out, louder than I meant. My chest heaved. My face burned. Silence. Adrien's eyes softened, though his expression stayed unreadable. Slowly, carefully, he asked, Then what do you want? And just like that, my brain shut down. What did I want? Not to win. Not to lose. Not to survive another board meeting without breaking a vase. I wanted him. This maddening, sharp, beautiful man who kissed like fire and stared at me like I was the only puzzle worth solving. I swallowed hard. My heart hammered. My palms sweated. And then I moved. I leaned across the desk, grabbed the lapel of his suit, and kissed him. It wasn't smooth. Oh God, it wasn't smooth. I knocked over a pen holder in the process. My nose bumped his. My lips landed at a slightly awkward angle. But it was mine. My choice. My kiss. And when his mouth yielded to mine, when he responded with heat and certainty, all the clumsy edges didn't matter. I used to dream of kissing someone taller than me. Now I dream of kissing him forever. Adrien's hand slid up my arm, firm and grounding. His other hand cupped my jaw, tilting my head just right. The kiss deepened, heat sparking like fireworks under my skin. I clutched his lapel tighter, terrified he'd pull away, desperate to keep him close. But he didn't pull away. He leaned in, matched me, overwhelmed me. For once, I wasn't tripping into a kiss. I wasn't stumbling into his chest or weaponizing my long arms by accident. This was me choosing. This was me wanting. When we finally broke apart, breathless, I stared at him, dazed and dizzy. Adrien's expression was unreadable, but his eyes burned. Ethan, he murmured. Just my name. But it sounded like something important. Something dangerous. Panicked. Don't look at me like that. His lips quirked. Like what? Like you're going to kiss me again. He leaned in, voice low. Maybe I am. My heart did a full Olympic backflip. That night, lying in bed, I hugged my pillow and groaned into it. Day 14 of being tall, kissed Adrien Chun first. Clumsy, messy, perfect. I might have just started a war I can't win, but at least this time it's the war I actually want. Chapter 15, Lovers, Not Rivals. There's nothing scarier than a boardroom full of old men with too much money and too much free time. Well, except maybe Adrien Chun in a bad mood. But today, the boardroom vultures had me firmly in their sights. It started with whispers, quiet little digs about how Ethan Reed isn't the man he used to be. Then it got louder. By the time I walked into the meeting, briefcase clutched in sweaty palms, they were circling like sharks. One of them stood. Mr. Reed, your recent behavior has been troubling. You're softer, weaker. You've changed. Another chimed in. This isn't the man we entrusted this company to. I froze. My throat went dry. They weren't wrong. I had changed. But not in the way they thought. Tall body. Short heart. That's me. And apparently they hate it. Before I could stammer a defense, a calm voice cut through the room. Adrien's. Enough. Every head swiveled toward him. He rose from his chair, smooth as ever, radiating authority. My pulse jumped. Adrien looked at the board, his expression cold steel. You're right. He's not the man he used to be. My stomach plummeted. Oh no, he's going to expose me. He's going to unravel everything. Game over. But then Adrien continued. He's better. The board erupted in murmurs. I gawked like a fish gasping for air. Adrien didn't falter. He stepped around the table until he was standing beside me, tall and steady. His shoulder brushed mine. He's not ruthless for the sake of it. He fights differently. He cares differently. That makes him stronger than any of us expected, Adrien said. I blinked rapidly. Was he defending me? Adrien's voice lowered, calm but firm. If you can't see that, then you're blind. This is the man I'll stand beside. In business and beyond. The room went silent. My heart tried to do parkour inside my chest. He hadn't just defended me. He'd declared partnership. Not rivalry. Not opposition. Partnership. And everyone in that room heard it. The vultures, wisely, folded. The meeting ended with no further objections. One by one, they filed out, muttering about unexpected alliances and shifts in leadership. And then it was just us. I turned to Adrien, my mouth opening and closing like a malfunctioning goldfish. Did you just? He arched an eyebrow. Yes, was that a confession? Adrien's lips curved, infuriatingly calm. If you want it to be. My brain short-circuited. So I did the only logical thing. I kissed him. This time also just me choosing him. Again, with all the sincerity my tall body and short heart could muster. And for once I got it right. He kissed back, steady and sure. One hand sliding around my waist like he'd been waiting for this moment forever. When we finally pulled apart, I grinned like an idiot. Epilogue, tall enough for love. They say love changes everything. For me, that turned out to be very, very literal. It had been 3 months since Adrien Chun stopped being my rival and started being everything. 3 months since the board's jaws collectively dropped when he basically announced to the entire company that we were partners in both business and love. 3 months since my heart realized that kissing him wasn't just an accident, or desperation, or habit. It was home. And in that time, I'd learned exactly 3 things. Being tall is overrated. Being tall next to Adrien Chun is absolutely not overrated. Being loved by him feels taller than any skyscraper body ever could. Of course, don't let that fool you into thinking I suddenly became graceful or competent. No. I was still Ethan Reed. Destroyer of vases, spiller of coffee, accidental kisser extraordinaire. Case in point, our first morning living together. I decided to cook breakfast. Seemed romantic, domestic, boyfriend why? Except remember how my long arms have the accuracy of unguided missiles. Yeah. The frying pan accidentally catapulted an omelet onto the ceiling. Adrien stared up at it, then at me. His face, unreadable. His eyes, faintly glowing with why do I love this man? Energy. Finally, he sighed, pulled me into his chest, and muttered, "At least you're consistent." I grinned into his suit. "You like it." He didn't answer, but he didn't let me go either. At work, things were equally ridiculous. The employees had gone from terrified of me to worshipping me. Every time I watered the office plants, there was actual applause. Grace, my secretary, even started putting sticky notes on my desk. "Don't forget the ficus loves you." Meanwhile, Adrien sat in board meetings watching me like he was in on some private joke. Which honestly he was, because whenever the board droned on about profits, I'd slide him a sandwich under the table. Our secret ritual. His stern expression never changed, but his hand would brush mine just long enough to make my heart explode. And then there were the kisses. So many kisses. Soft ones in the morning when his voice was rough with sleep. Heated ones in the elevator, which no longer terrified me, though I still refused to stand near the buttons. Bad memories. Quick ones stolen in hallways. Lingering ones at night when the city lights glowed around us. So here I am, Ethan Reed, formerly undertall, forever underestimated, accidentally in love CEO. Maybe tall, maybe short, maybe clumsy as hell, but finally taken seriously, as his